Thank you. Yogesh and Pinner, you're on the radio. Yogesh, what are you going to tell me? Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Nick. We
Hello.
haven't spoken for a while.
Yes, I
Just
remember
wanted to
you.
wish you and all the listeners a happy Diwali.
Happy
and,
Diwali. It starts today, doesn't it, I believe? Is that correct, sir?
it does indeed
No,
start
we'll
today.
have a wonderful festival.
And I just wanted to, such an auspicious day that possibly Rishi, being a Hindu, might be appointed as our next Prime Minister.
And is that good news, do you think? Would you be happy with that?
Absolutely good news. I think I accepted when he didn't win, when Liz came along,
Right.
tried to do the right thing. I wish he would have been selected as in the cabinet. I think things would have been better, because that's what they were saying during the campaign, if you may remember. But
Right.
for some reason...
Sorry, you mean the cabinet under Liz Truss, do you mean? Is that
That's right, yeah.
Right, I see.
Because that's what he did say, if you remember, Nick, that he's willing to work under her if he doesn't get elected.
Right.
But it never happened.
No.
But I think the right things happen. I think he will be able to command the cabinet. I think he'll definitely bring light over darkness.
Right.
And that's the most important thing.
And you have yourself, as is Diwali, you have yourself a fantastic celebration over the next few days. Yogesh, good to hear from you again. It's been a while since we've spoken. Best to your family. Thank you. Steve's in Chelmsford. Steve, party unity. Is he going to achieve it? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. No, he's not.
But
I totally agree with Nadine Dorris. I think that there's going to be massive infighting. You've still got those factions within that party. And I think potentially it'll all lead to them being forced to call a general election, early general election. And then
how will they
get
force?
annihilated.
Because knowing that would be, I would have thought, almost annihilation for the Conservative Party. How are they going to be boxed into a corner? How will that take place?
I think, as usual, like the media will get hold of it. Potentially there'll be protests. There'll be so much infighting within the party that I think that will force the hand anyway.
So there'll be a no confidence vote that some of the Conservatives would support. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's going to go down that route. If it doesn't go down that route, they're going to lose the next election with Rishi Sunak anyway. He's already shown that he doesn't connect with the people. As was seen when he borrowed that guy's car and didn't know how to put fuel in it.
That was down at New Cross, the Sainsbury's petrol station, yeah.
Exactly. And then he tried the McDonald's thing, didn't he, with his breakfast or whatever, which was, like, again, sort of trying to connect with the general public, which failed miserably. Along with that, you've got all these tax issues.
It is... Whoever gets it is going to be a very daunting time. Eye-watering decisions coming our way, Steve, as, of course, the new Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, has said. Steve, thank you. Michael in Doncaster. Michael, your reaction?
Hello. In my opinion, the best man is Rishi Sunak.
Right.
Why is it in this country that we tend to criticise anybody that's made a lot of money by their own talents?
Right.
Why is that? You're jealous of him, and they say, "Oh, he can't identify with the middle classes because he's got too." Absolute nonsense.
That was a bit embarrassing when he didn't know how to fill his car up. Well, in fact,
that was rubbish. That was total rubbish. That was a camera. That was the media. They took advantage of it.
No. Lastly, Michael, they invited the media down there to watch the then Chancellor put petrol in someone else's car, which is even more bizarre.
So he followed suit.
Well, he should have said, "This is a load of old cobblers. I'm not doing it. It's a pathetic stunt. I don't want to do it."
Oh, don't be silly. Then people would say he's snobbish. He's out of touch.
He didn't emerge well, did he, from not knowing how to pay for petrol?
Oh, that was a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, that's nonsense. Listen, this is a serious business now in this country. We need a talent. We need somebody who is good. And we've got him at last.
Michael, thank you for your strong views. I sense the next person with whom we're going to speak is going to share my views, perhaps not for the same reasons we're about to find out. I speak with Conservative MP and Home Secretary Grant Shapps, who joins me now. Mr. Shapps has an article in one of the newspapers this morning, the Daily Mail, in which he writes, "We, i.e. the nation and the Conservatives, we get to calm down, put the leather driving gloves back in the sock drawer and return to grown-up politics and economics." The Home Secretary is here to explain. What exactly are we doing now then, Mr. Shapps? Good morning.
Morning. The beginning of the article talks about how It's as if there was a little bit of a midlife crisis going on for the with the party, experimenting with new things and including, I think, doing something actually not very conservative, which was cutting taxes and using borrowing to fund it, which is, I think, fundamentally the wrong way to go. And of course, everything that Rishi Sunak campaigned against in the summer, and now, of course, we're moving on from that if Rishi becomes Prime Minister, because he said, putting the finances right is the number one priority, not the afterthought.
If you look at the numbers, I think we can replace that if Home Secretary with a when, or do we say now it would be advisable for Penny Mordaunt to stand aside?
Well, no, I think that's up to Penny to decide. I mean, I know that Rishi certainly doesn't consider it in the bag. He's speaking to colleagues all throughout this morning. We'll find out just after lunch whether or not this will go to a membership round, and time will tell. So no, I don't. Never assume anything. Have we not learned anything? Never assume anything in politics.
What are the talents that Mr. Sunak has? And I remind my listeners, you supported him in the hustings 6-7 weeks ago, whenever it was. What are the talents that you would advocate?
I would say he's the guy who took us through, the pandemic, created the furlough scheme that saved so many businesses and jobs in this country, and actually was right in his fundamental analysis that what you need to do is bear down on inflation and grow the economy and then cut taxes, not try and do it in the opposite order, which has not worked for the markets. Now, you may say, well, I don't care about the markets. The point is, it's not worked for people's mortgages or car loans or borrowings, because, in a world where interest rates are in any case going up because of Putin's evil war and the inflation that's brought with the higher energy prices, so we understand interest rates are going up everywhere, we shouldn't be pushing them up higher because the markets are concerned about our fiscal policies, our borrowing, in other words. So I think that's what he represents, plus taking us really, delivering the 2019 manifesto that people actually voted for. So I think that's the other key point here, and I think that's what he'll deliver.
We're speaking with you as Home Secretary. I've lost count of how many times we spoke when you were Transport Secretary. I wonder if you can get a word from you on this. Councils that implemented low-traffic neighbourhoods during the pandemic have seen bigger increases in car use than boroughs that did not, according to government driving statistics. Dozens of so-called LTNs, which use bollards, planters or camera enforcement to block through traffic, were introduced in 2020 in a government package to encourage active travel. The schemes were promoted as climate-friendly, yet Department of Transport figures show total vehicle miles driven in the 10 inner London boroughs that introduced LTNs rose by an average of against those that did not. Can we agree that the LTNs need to be reviewed? It was not the storming success everyone hoped it would be.
Well, I said all along with these that it's horses for courses. You've got to put them in a way which, A, carries the local population, and B, doesn't, for example, create problems for emergency services and the other things that actually I'm, as Home Secretary, concerned about as well. And so it was never a prescription that they go in everywhere under all circumstances. It was always meant to be done with local consultation. Now, where they've worked, I should say, you get some very positive feedback. So a lot of who doesn't want to live if you're in the street with calmer traffic. Perhaps you've got kids, maybe they walk to school, and of course, it's great pleasure. However, I've never believed in the sort of wholesale implementation in a sort of zealot kind of fashion. And of course, what we were dealing with during coronavirus itself, when the space was required, because you couldn't have crowded areas, is very different to today, when, thank goodness, because of the vaccine, we've managed to get life back to normal. So, horses for courses is what I'd say there.
It's refreshing to hear Home Secretary accept that there could be issues with emergency service vehicles. What do you plan to do about that, Mr. Shapps?
Well, again, actually, for local areas, and I really encourage them to look at the implementation and see if it's working. And this is the other thing, which we'd said all along, don't just do these things blindly. Take your population with you. Some places, they really do work. Actually, it's turned certain areas of London into thriving, where perhaps there are restaurants with chairs out and tables on the street, and it turned into, particularly during the summer, thriving areas. But it's not right to do these things wholesale, as if, to hell with finding out what people actually need or want, we'll just implement these things. That's not the right way to do it. And so I think very important that the emergency services that I'm responsible for as Home Secretary, the local populations are taken along with these things, and where they don't work, don't keep them. I mean, as simple as that.
Lastly, you mentioned your term as Home Secretary. Will you be staying as Home Secretary? Have you had a conversation with Mr. Sunak about that?
No, I have not. First of all, he's got to win. He's taking nothing for granted there. And secondly, he will want a free hand to be able to form the government that he wants to create. And I think it's very important that he does that. And actually also very important not to repeat any errors of narrowing it down only to I did support him, but, what you want are the people who are the best and most talented. And he should have a free hand to be able to do that. So, first of all, let's see if he wins. Secondly, let him get on with the job.
But you're ready to serve if asked?
Well, of course I am.
Okay.
It's odd to say anything different. It's the security of the nation. It's counter-terrorism. It's the borders and immigration. It's an incredibly important role. However, a new Prime Minister must have a free hand to implement the top posts that he or she wants to put in place.
Thanks for coming on the show. Home Secretary Grant Shapps appearing here on LBC. We're at 8:33. Remind you, Sir Keir Starmer taking your calls after 9. 8:33 now. Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari on LBC News. Now, Simon Conway.
The former Conservative leader Lord Howard has told LBC Penny Mordaunt should stand aside to let Rishi Sunak become the next Prime Minister. He will be declared the winner of the Tory leadership contest if Miss Mordaunt fails to secure nominations from 100